Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead Aherne. Today's top stories. The manager of University Hospital Waterford has appealed to people to adhere to the restrictions put in place. The National Public Health Emergency Team will make a decision later on widening the criteria for COVID-19 testing. Demand for services at the Waterford Food Bank have increased by more than 60%. And in sport, Liverpool are edging closer to being crowned Premier League champions after UEFA relaxed their approach to European seasons finishing early. The General Manager of University Hospital Waterford says it's important not to become complacent and to adhere to the restrictions put in place. For the third day in a row, there are no new confirmed cases of coronavirus at University Hospital Waterford. There are 6 confirmed cases on site. However, an additional 9 suspected cases are awaiting test results. Grace Rothwell says there's been a noticeable increase in people out and about in recent days. She's thanked the public for adhering to the COVID-19 restrictions so far. She says we need to continue to stay at home, keep social distancing and practicing good hand hygiene.
That has served us well in the southeast, and that's certainly our belief here in the hospital. And at this stage, to thank everybody and just to ask them just to keep it going for another while. We're all hoping that there will be some lifting of those restrictions, but it's very important that we keep the measures going because we have reduced the spread of the virus. But if people start congregating, if social distance is not maintained, we'll have people in close proximity, and that presents a risk in terms of the spread of the virus.
She says all the staff at University Hospital Waterford have been fantastic.
The continued support of staff, the willingness of people to do things that they don't normally do or to be redeployed to different settings, and really just everybody has stepped up, and I personally would like to take the opportunity to thank them all for their continued support. You know, anything that staff, idea-wise, were more than willing to listen to, and we have listened to date, thanks to our staff, and without them we wouldn't be as stable as we are at the moment.
The National Public Health Emergency Team will make a decision today on widening their criteria for COVID-19 testing. NAFED met this morning to discuss the country's response to the pandemic and to consider how any of the current restrictions could be lifted next month. Kim Buckley reports.
Currently, people with suspected COVID-19 have to display 2 major symptoms to get tested: a fever and either a cough or shortness of breath. They also need to be either contacts of a confirmed case, healthcare staff or in a vulnerable group. Today, the National Public Health Emergency Team will decide on possibly broadening that criteria. Professor Anthony Staines from DCU says more widespread testing is needed before any restrictions can be lifted.
And that gives us a much better picture of what's actually happening in the country. And that's what we need to know to make decisions about changing lockdown, letting people back to work, opening schools. But we need the best data we possibly can.
The backlog of tests has been cleared, meaning there is a capacity to carry out more. But before restrictions are lifted, infectious disease consultant at Cork University Hospital, Dr. Karina Sadlier, warns against complacency.
You know, games can be lost in 1 hour lost in the final minutes, and we kind of need to sustain the same levels of buy-in to get us to the point where it is safe to ease the restrictions.
If the case definition for testing is broadened, it's still unclear what the new criteria would be.
A Waterford TD says manufacturers responding to the coronavirus pandemic are finding it difficult to secure certification. Matt Shanahan's called for support from the Department of Health for businesses who've started making personal protective equipment. The independent deputy says he's aware of 2 projects in Waterford attempting to navigate the standards approval.
The first is a barrier face mask, the design of which has already been approved for use in France by means of a standards reclassification. But as yet in Ireland we have been unable to accelerate standards consideration. The second is a new clinical full face mask being developed by the South Eastern Applied Materials Research Centre at Waterford Institute of Technology, one of our 15 national technology gateways. Development is in conjunction with University Hospital Waterford ICU consultants, Boston Scientific Concert and Javel Healthcare.
Minister Simon Harris says the South East is a very innovative place.
As you've obviously highlighted, a number of projects underway where Irish companies and Irish industry are eager to help and support our national effort. I very much appreciate a note on those projects, which I'll then ensure are given to the Office of Government Procurement, and that any assistance that can be provided by our state agencies will indeed be provided.
The Waterford Food Bank says demand for their services has increased by more than 60% in recent weeks. The charity was set up last year to help people who are in food poverty by using surplus products from food producers and supermarkets. They're now asking people to donate items to their collection points in Ardkeen stores and the hypermarket. Lynn Cahill's Hope is part of the Voluntary Management Committee.
In normal times, we would deliver between 120 and 130 food packages per week to people who are living in food poverty in Waterford. You're looking about 500 people, and that would be a mix of families. We would also deliver to individuals, and about a third of the people we deliver food to would be over 60. But since the start of COVID-19, that has increased week on week. For example, last week we would have delivered to 200 households in Waterford. So you're talking about between 800 and 900 people who needed our help.
Over 500 calls have been made to a confidential phone line service established by the new COVID-19 Waterford Community Response Forum in the last 2 weeks. Waterford Councillor Damien Gagan says over a dozen agencies and organisations are involved in the dedicated community support helpline.
It's being run by the council in conjunction with the community forum, and in the first couple of weeks there was in excess of 400 requests in relation to the collection and delivery of things like prescriptions, dealing with delivery of meals, transport and issues like that. What the council have put in place is a network of contacts right throughout the city and county who they can call upon to actually respond to people who need to have issues dealt with.
The maker of Dettol says that under no circumstances should its products be injected into the human body. Orby says its disinfectant and hygiene products should only be used as intended. It's after the US President suggested that tests should be carried out to see if COVID-19 patients could be cured by injecting them with disinfectant. Donald Trump said it would be interesting to see if it works.
I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside, or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs, so it'd be interesting to check that.
The Green Party says it'll have government formation talks with Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil if they can address three key issues. Yesterday, the Greens wrote to the two parties seeking clarification on a number of issues before it would consider a coalition. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are 8 seats short of a Dáil majority and want the Greens 12 TDs on board. Waterford Green Party TD Mark O'Cosig told Damien Tiernan on Daisha today that there are many different views within the party, but they're worried about going in with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
We're not sure that they share our values. Everybody has a memory of the last time that the Greens were in government and what happened subsequent to that. And we have seen historically in Irish coalitions that it is the junior partner who suffers. There's only one reason I'm going up to Leinster House 3 days of the week away from my family, and that's to get things done. And I'm there to get things done for the people of Waterford as well. What I want to do is, for however long this government lasts, I want to do absolutely everything that I can. And at the end of that time frame, the people will have an option again to vote on whether they liked what I did or not.
A Waterford pharmacist says hay fever season has taken many people by surprise this year. The allergic reaction to pollen is usually worse between late March and September. Brian Tynan is the owner of Phelan's Pharmacy in Michael Street.
It has been particularly strong over the last kind of 2 weeks. It has started to really peak, and there seems to be an awful lot of kind of tree pollen. And it would be expected kind of this time of the year as well. So I would notice that most definitely inside in the shop, an awful lot more people kind of just coming in to actually just pick up antihistamines. So while everyone would be preparing for everything to do with kind of coronavirus, it'll be the nuts and bolts of the day-to-day stuff that I suppose people are probably kicking the eye over the ball slightly.
WLR Sport, Ireland's local station of the year.
Starting with soccer, where Liverpool are edging closer to being crowned Premier League champions after UEFA relaxed their approach to European seasons, finishing early. The prospect of leagues being voided is out of the question, with UEFA urging individual nations to decide for themselves which teams should be crowned champions if seasons cannot be completed because of the pandemic. UEFA say decisions can be made on the basis of sporting merit, where there is a public perception of fairness. This may result in leagues determining their placings by points per game. Roy Keane says Premier League players don't have to take a pay cut, nor should they be under pressure to do so. West Ham, Southampton and Watford's players have agreed deferrals due to the pandemic, while most of Arsenal's players have signed up to a 12.5% cut for a year. Former Manchester United skipper Keane says players shouldn't be coming under scrutiny.
I have a lot of sympathy for the players out there, because once again, a lot of players are getting criticised. I wouldn't take a pay cut from anybody if I was at one of the bigger clubs. I know there's pressure on players but it's nobody's business what you do with your wages. I think you take your wages, and if you want to be generous, go ahead and do it. But I don't think players should feel under pressure from clubs, particularly the bigger clubs, that it takes you pay cuts. They've signed a contract. I know everyone's different. And this idea that all the players should take a pay cut, all the players have to do this, and I think that's nonsense. I think it's up to the individual.
And in athletics, the European Athletics Championships have been cancelled and will not be rescheduled. The games were due to take place in Paris in the last week of August. WLR asking you to stay at home. Our next bulletin is at 2.